Welcome to Talks and Readings with your host, me. He, she, me, thee. Today we are reading a fantastic little document, Addiction and Moralization, the Role of the Underlying Model of Addiction, by Lily E. Frank and Saskia K. Nagel. It's from the year 2016. Abstract. Addiction appears to be a deeply moralized concept. To understand the entwinement of addiction and morality, we briefly discuss the disease model and its alternatives in order to address the following questions. Is the disease model the only path towards a demoralized discourse of addiction? While it is tempting to think that medical language surrounding addiction provides liberation from the moralized language, evidence suggests that it is not necessarily the case. On the other hand, non-disease models of addiction may seem to resuscitate problematic forms of the moralization of addiction, including invoking blame, shame, and the wholesale rejection of addicts as people who have deep character flaws, while ignoring the complex biological and social context of addiction. This is also not necessarily the case. We argue that a deficit in reasons, responsiveness as basis for attribution of moral responsibility can be realized by multiple different causes, disease being one. But it also seems likely that alternative accounts of addiction, as developed by Flanagan, Lewis, and Levy, may also involve mechanisms, psychological, social, and neurobiological, that can diminish reason's responsiveness. It thus seems to us that non-disease models of addiction do not necessarily involve moralization. Okay. Hence, a non-stigmatizing approach to recovery can be realized in ways that are consistent with both the disease model and alternative models of addiction. So keywords here: addiction, moralization, moral responsibility, stigma, disease model. Introduction: changing models of addiction. Despite the rich debate on a proper understanding of addiction, much of the oftentimes heated scholarly debate in numerous fields, medicine, psychology, philosophy, centers on whether addiction is a disease, that is, a pathological compulsion the concerned cannot resist, or whether it is a matter of choice, that is, a matter of willpower and self-control. The disease model of addiction, taken broadly, characterizes addiction as a severe chronic stage of substance use disorder, in which there is a substantial loss of self-control, as indicated by compulsive drug taking, despite the desire to stop taking the drug. 1, page 364. With a further focus on addiction as a brain disease, the National Institute on Drug Abuse, NIDA, that's United States, characterizes addiction as a chronic relapsing brain disease that is characterized by compulsive drug seeking and use despite harmful consequences. It is considered a brain disease because drugs change the brain. They change its structure and how it works. These brain changes can be long-lasting and can lead to the harmful behaviours seen in people who abuse drugs. Widely endorsed perspectives on addiction that follow the disease model have held that addictive behaviour is a compulsion beyond one's conscious control and without regard for one's rational judgment to indulge in particular behaviours or in the consumption of certain drugs. 3, 4. As even Lewis, with a strong opposing perspective on the disease model, recognises, 5. Because addiction compromises our physical and mental health, and because it cannot be easily controlled, it seems like a disease. Those in support of addiction as a compulsion or chronic disease often point to the demonstrated role of genetic or neurophysiological factors in addiction, popularizing the notion of addiction as hijacking the brain. Neuroscience and animal models of addiction have been particularly influential in this categorization. That's all I'm going to read for today. This resource is in the section below, the link below. This goes, stigma, enigma. Stigma, enigma. Stigma, enigma. Is Shivadvaita Vedanta a Siddhantika school? Parinamavad in the Brahma Mimamsa Bhashya. This article examines the intellectual relationship between Siva-Advaita Vedanta and southern India Saiva Siddhanta during the 15th to 18th centuries. Attention is given to the theory of transformation, Parinamavad, set forth in Sri Kanta's Brahma Mimamsa Bhashya, especially in light of Appaya Dikshita's commentarial work. The discussion begins with the analysis of grammatical and hermeneutical arguments common to both schools and concerning the question of Sivas, or Brahmins, causation of the world. It is then shown how Appaya's interpretation of Sri Kanta's Parinamavada as Vivartavada establishes Shivadvaita Vedanta as an independent school, distinct from the mainstream Saiva Siddhanta of this period. The article concludes with a brief discussion of the status of agamas in the Shivadvaita Vedanta, so as to shed light on the motivations behind Appaya's Shivadvaita project. So I'll include this in the links below. Talks and readings. What do we think, eh? What do we think? Am I wasting your time? Is this endeavour a waste of your time? Am I wasting your time? Is this endeavour a waste of your time? It is 2:25 p.m. Monday, the 5th of December, 2022. Is this a waste of your time? What on earth am I trying to achieve with this? Talks and readings. Talks and readings.